Hi everyone, my name is Rachel Barlow and I'm here to tell you a little about how we are going to ask you to evaluate your classmates' presentation in your CHEM258 semester. So you're going to see that we've created a rubric for you to use. It's online, so you're going to use an online form, and it's basically divided into two different sections, one on the content of the presentation you're reviewing and another piece on the style of that presentation, and then there's a few additional questions. So the first thing I want you to do is just listen to me talk for a few minutes about the different dimensions we want you to consider when you're evaluating one of these presentations. First, we want you to look at the introduction and background of that presentation. Then we want you to think about the results and discussion. We want you to consider how the presenter summarizes the main findings and also how the presenter talks about sort of the future work in that area. We want you to think about how the presenter talks about the significance of the study they're describing as well as its relevance. And we also want you to consider how the presenter talks about the connections between the paper and organic chemistry and the things you've been learning this semester. Finally, we also do want you to make sure that the presenter has thought about having references in their presentation, which is always important. That's a little about the content. We also want you to think a little about the style of the presentation. So when you're looking at these presenters, what's their pacing like? Do they talk at the right speed, or do they go too slowly or too quickly? Do they use the time they've been given effectively? What's the flow of the presentation? Is it clear why the presenter is moving from one topic to another? What about eye contact? Are the presenters looking at the webcam the same way I am right now, or are they looking off into space? How clear are the presenters? Are they speaking clearly and enunciating? And are they explaining concepts well? How about their use of visuals? What are they doing with their slides? Are they referencing their slides when they're talking? Are they using a reasonable mix of text and images? Are their slides free of errors? And finally, what does their use of technology look like? Do they know what they're doing within the webinar system that you're using? Does it look like they've practiced? So that gives you some main ideas of what we want you to think about. Then I also just want to show you what the web form that you're going to be completing looks like live and give you some suggestions about how to use it. Here it is live. You'll see that there's a drop-down menu where you'll be asked to identify what group you're reviewing, and your professor should have given you information about that. Also, we want you to type in the names that you remember of the presenter is in those groups. This allows us to make sure that we have the review that you're completing correctly tied to the right group. Note that they will be asked, all the presenters, including yourself, to put their group number on the main slide. You might jot that down immediately once they do it before their presentation is underway. As you scroll down, you will see that there's a question that asks whether this is an initial review or an update. In most cases, you're only going to review a particular group once, but sometimes it might be the case that your first review that you do for a particular group, you actually end up kind of scoring things too high or too low, and it's not until you see other groups present that you sort of realize that. So in a couple of cases, you might want to go back and redo a review, which is why we have this question here. You'll see the matrices that we already talked about here below. And then we have some qualitative questions towards the bottom. Tell your classmates, your colleagues, those who are presenting, what was the central message you took away from their presentation? What was one of their strengths and weaknesses in presenting? And how could they have improved? This is valuable information that you can give to them and that you will get in return. Finally, we want to know who you are as a reviewer. We're not going to tell the group being reviewed who you are, but we need that information so that we know that you completed the review. Also, because we're asking for your email address, that way you will get a copy of this review that you've just completed sent to your email inbox. You can hold on to that in case your professor wants to see it later. Obviously, there's a button here where you can submit your review, and then you can go on and review the next presentation. You probably have two different ways that you can do this. It could be that you use a split screen model, and on one half of the screen, you have the presentation that's running. And then the other half of the screen, you have this rubric open and you're completing it. It could also be that you decide to have the presentation running on your entire screen and you do the review on your phone, which is also an option because this web form is mobile friendly. Those are the things I wanted you to know. Good luck with your presentations and good luck with the reviews.